Okay, let's think about this for a second. Imagine your web app. It's like a super exclusive club, right? You've got the velvet rope, a line of people trying to get in, and your number one job, keep the troublemakers out. And for that, you need a bouncer. Well, in the digital world, that bouncer has a name, AWS WAF.
So you gotta ask yourself, who's actually trying to get into your application? Because seriously, every single second of every day, someone's rattling the front door. Are they legit visitors, or are they, trying to kick the door down? Let's dig into that.
I mean, the reality is the web is just crawling with these unwanted guests. And we're not just talking about a few people. We're talking automated bots, bad actors, and they really only have one goal in mind: mess with your service, steal your data, or, just cause total chaos.
And the ways they try to get in? Oh, it's a whole menu of nasty stuff. You've got things like SQL injection. That's where they try to trick your database into spilling its secrets. Then there's cross-site scripting, which is a sneaky way to attack your actual users. And on top of all that, you have this constant, relentless background noise. Malicious bots, web scrapers, brute force attacks just hammering away trying to guess passwords. It is absolutely a non-stop assault.
So, when you're faced with that kind of crowd, you can't just have any old security, right? Nope. You want a professional, someone who knows exactly what to look for. And that, right there, is where AWS WAF comes into the picture. It's the pro bouncer you hire to manage that front door.
So what's this bouncer's job description exactly? Well, a WAF, that's Web Application Firewall, it has one very specific mission. It stands guard and it inspects every single request that speaks the language of the web. We're talking HTTP and HTTPS. And it does this before that traffic gets anywhere close to your application.
And let's be clear, this is not a backup plan. WAF is built to be your first line of defense, your primary, proactive shield. It is literally the very first thing that traffic hits, which makes it probably the most important security layer for anything you're running on AWS.
This is a really important distinction to get. Think of a traditional firewall like a mail sorter in a post office. It just looks at the to address on the envelope and sends it on its way. That's the network layer. It only cares about routing. But a WAF? A WAF is like a security agent who actually opens the envelope and reads the letter inside. It's operating at the application layer, layer 7, so it understands the content and the intent of the message itself. Huge difference.
Okay, so you've hired your bouncer. Now, where do you put him? Because let me tell you, placement is everything. It's just as important as hiring him in the first place. You need him right at the front door, not wandering around the party.
And AWS gives you 3 perfect spots to post your bouncer, right where all the action is. First up, you can put it on Amazon CloudFront, which is what's delivering your content all over the world. Second, on an application load balancer, the thing that's juggling traffic between all your servers. And third, on an API gateway, which is basically the front door for all your backend services.
But why does this matter so much? Why is placement so critical? Well, think about it. Any threat that gets stopped at the front door never even gets inside. That means it never gets a chance to consume your valuable resources, run up your bill, slow down your performance for real users, or, get its hands on your data. This is how you save money, protect performance, and keep your apps safe. It's all about stopping them at the edge.
All right, so our bouncer's in position. Now for the big question. How does he decide who gets in and who gets bounced? Simple. He checks the guest list. And in our case, that guest list is a set of very specific rules.
And believe me, this is a thorough inspection. The WAF is looking at pretty much everything. It checks out the request headers, it looks at the query strings in the URL, it inspects the actual content in the body of the request, and of course, it's checking the source IP address. Where is this request even coming from? It's looking for any of those telltale signs of something malicious.
The cool thing is, you get 2 ways to build this guest list. First, you can use what are called AWS managed rules. Think of this as the experts list, right? It's curated by AWS's own top security pros, and it's constantly updated to block all the latest, most common threats. It's a great starting point, but you can also write your own custom rules. This is for anything that's super specific to your application. So you get this perfect blend of out-of-the-box protection from the experts and that fine-grained control that you need.
Okay, let's do a quick fire round. Let's lock in exactly what this bouncer does, and maybe more importantly, what he doesn't do. Getting this right is super important.
So here are the core responsibilities, the absolute must-knows about how AWS WAF works. Let's just run through them.
First thing, and this is huge, the WAF is a specialist. It only speaks the language of the web. That's HTTP and HTTPS. That's it. It's not designed to handle any other kind of network traffic.
Now, for all you developers out there, you're going to love this one. You can add this incredible layer of protection without changing a single line of your application code. How? Well, because the WAF sits in front of your app, the protection is totally external. No code changes needed.
Look, even the best bouncer knows when to call for backup, right? And the WAF works hand in hand with another service called AWS Shield. Together, they are your defense against those massive distributed denial of service attacks, DDoS attacks, where someone tries to just flood your app with so much traffic it just falls over.
And let's wrap this up with probably the most important distinction of all. A WAF is not just a simple packet filter that checks addresses. It's way more intelligent than that. Remember, it's inspecting the actual content and the patterns inside the web request. That gives it a much, much deeper understanding of whether something is a real threat or not.
So, let's end with this thought. Your application, it's open 24/7. It never closes. Its doors are always open to the entire world. So the question you really have to ask yourself is, who's watching your door?